presidential candidate of the New Patriotic Party wish to meet you and have a word with you and also break a fast. This morning he's here with Honorable Freddie Blay, former Member of Parliament for Elebele and former Chairman of the New Patriotic Party. We also have here Honorable Howard Kumsin, who is the Minister for Fisheries and a tidy girl. We also have my former Deputy Western Regional Minister, Mrs. Gifty Kusi, who is a Pentecostal. We also have the campaign manager of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's campaign, Honorable Fred Opare Ansan, who is a former MP for Sumum. We also have here the Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources and MP for Takwa and Swayim constituency, Honorable Duka. We also have here the MP for Efian and also the Minister for Public Enterprises, Honorable Joseph Kujo. We also have your own minister for the religious sector in Ghana, your own minister, former MP from Fansman, Honorable Stephen Asamoah Boateng, popularly called Sabi. We also have the former General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party, MP for Okre, and the immediate past Minister for Local Government Decentralization, Honorable Dan Kweku Butwe, also with the team. Last but not least is the former General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party, former spokesperson for President Kufuor, Engineer Senior Muba Kwabena Ejapon. And as usual, my regional chairman is here with us, Nana Tufohine of Tikobu #1 in the Desia. And like you know, in the Desia's brother is also a software for the Methodist Church and he's here. So, without much ado, I'll call on Honorable Stephen Asamoah Boateng to give a word and then we can move on from there.
Mr. Vice President and the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, the Chairman of the region and the Ministers of State, the all protocols as established by stand of it. Pastors and apostles and reverend ministers and bishops, evangelists, this morning I'm grateful to be with you and I'm humbled to see men and women of God all assembled here to meet with the Vice President and the MPP's flag bearer. I'm so grateful working with you. I'm a Methodist chorister too, as you know. I'm also charismatic. My mother started with the resurrection power and living bread. And so I'm one of you. But today is to seek your blessings and also hear from you. There are ideas that he's generating himself, but it's good to let you know and then you can feed in. After today, we'll keep in touch. We have your database, most all of you I know by the data blog, and then we keep in touch. The ideas from the flag bearer, it's an interactive one. It's to be able to connect to people and to be able to run the country as you want it, and that's why it's here. So without much ado, I'll give it back to the regional minister. I think he will then introduce the and my big brother is here. He's a Presbyterian too. So we say we are all in it. Thank you, Babu.
Thank you very much. I wish I could borrow what Mr. President uses. Eminent clergy. Those are the words of President Kufuor. Eminent clergy, Mr. Vice President. Everyone is here. Yes, we are very grateful for this audience. And just as my brother said, yes, we are in campaign mood, campaign time. Very respectfully, we may not be here to say that our revered ministers of the gospel should necessarily be our campaign partners. No. It is of the deep conviction of our presidential candidate that it's important to seek the blessings from revered men of God, even to help him shape his vision, to endow him to have a good heart for the nation. And as he moves around the country, the blessings of the Almighty. So he makes the point that as he touches basically all the 60 ingredients, you will have such interaction or a cross-section of the revered men and women of God. So we are here to seek your blessings, to seek your guidance, and seek your prayers. And a friend drew my attention to Exodus chapter 18. And we were having a discussion on democracy. He said, oh, this democracy, it started in the Bible. In Exodus 18, when Moses started dealing with the people, he will sit down, he will talk to them one by one, one by one. Then his father-in-law visits and said, hey, what is it that you are doing? You cannot continue doing this. You wear out. So Jethro told him, Exodus 18, from 14 going, he said, no, find capable people who fear God and divide the people into groups of 50, 20, 100, this, and find people who fear God, who hate covetousness, to be in charge of them. Then they will handle the small matters. When it comes to the big one, they will bring it to you. And that's what democracy is all about. That we represent people who love God, makes a lot of difference. And the Almighty God will serve. And you know it better. Anybody who makes himself available to Almighty God, God will use him. God will use him or her. And such is the man we have, who loves the people, who loves God. We are in a political party, yes. But you, our revered ministers of the gospel, will bear testimony. I'm sure you can have countless examples to give. And it came to pass that this king was this. He feared God. It came to pass that his son who succeeded him did this, and God was not happy with him. And it came to pass. God judges individuals by what they do. And so if at a time a particular king is there and he worships the Lord's hands is on him. If another person comes and he does not, his hands will not be on him. And we believe, and having worked with our presidential candidate all this while, that he puts the love of God at the center of everything he does. That whatever we do, we should ask, what is it? Will it benefit the children of God? And when we talk about the people, they are in your hands. You do so many things. My father was a small Catholic. And when we lived in the mission house, if a car breaks down on the road and the people don't have anywhere to eat or sleep, they bring the person to the mission house. If somebody comes to eat trade and he cannot go back, he goes, that's because there were no guest houses. they bring the person to the mission house. I remember there used to be a woman who was a bit deranged, and because we come to food every afternoon, by 12:30 the woman will be sitting there with his bowl, because he's come to the mission house. You do so many things beyond being in the pulpit and preaching. You handle so many cases, so many people come to you, take care of the flock in so many ways. So if the presidential candidate also wants God's guidance and God's blessing to lead the people of Ghana, you have been doing that in so many ways. It's not as if the greatest of respect, you only hold the Bible and do your work. I'm sure. At times people also come to you for even school fees and hospital bills and all that. So it is in the business of doing the will of our Maker in so many ways. But you, having given yourself to the full ministry of God, understand this is better, know it better. And that is why we will always seek your guidance. Now, you will say, what the Okwega meaning, no more swim pabo, and man, what I'm going to Bawumia. Say, and Koso, and man, Akumapa, and Opepa, no one woman. And yet, no one tia. And yet, Tiana says, will be of our who Gracia. Two for tea. Now, all yet, I said, Yami Fanos, ever walk Namima. That's the whole business. Politics in say a TRC. Jeff Kelly was saying, is to pursue policies and programs that will go to improve the living conditions of the people. Yamima Sheresa, Opa, Namima Shamusa, teaching, someone I want to know. I'm from Sudan. But the policies and programs now you pace you. So many people children and Mama Juma we are not intimate also. So that collaboration between Yame as for Yame is here before and so key and so important for that collaboration. And that is why we are here. And it's not just only today. We will continue doing that. And yet, the piano by bit many win, I see. Smile, paying for us about which year as of penny mind, Bahana, Kramas, Baba, Yabekoso, Yakoswaya. I say, we several power than a mere Daruma, January 7, 2025, Obayoma Penia. Oshapo said, Obakoso, Amasai, we Akoso. Now, myself in Pabo, and Bopan Chere. I want a Juma and blessing. Jadamasi, the Masipai from Tabasi, so Upai, the Yasan, we said, the Kuswa, Yay. Kuswa, Yabahaya, the best Nankita, to be a while. The Shia of Yami or Tim. When I said, we are being seen for Asia Sea. Now, you did say, Suma Baha. The blessing being a free hand, maybe it's in Yakoso, Ako, Apona, na Yakoso, Ako, Ganapona. Tiadabasi bring it. Nemum, Abubrasium, and in the room, the Tonsa Afraid. The Zesha candidate, says the vice president, but I'm a good one, non Yakasa.
Dan Medasi, Regional Minister, our Minister for Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, Minister for Chieftains, Fisheries and Aquaculture, the Western Regional Chairman of the New Patriotic Party, our eminent and most eminent clergy here assembled, the men and women of God. I say good morning to all of you. And I want to thank all of you for making the time to be here this morning so that we can share a few interactions amongst ourselves. I know you are very busy people. You have huge flocks to take care of. So whenever you leave your areas, it takes a lot for you to do that. And I'm most grateful and most appreciative. As you know, I'm sure you do, that I have, as at the end of last year, November 4th, I was elected as the flag bearer of the new Patriotic Party, which means that I've gone through the processes of our internal elections, and I'm now the presidential candidate for the new Patriotic Party, going to contest the 2024 elections. And as the political season has opened, I've begun my campaign across this country. Started with Eastern region and now in Western region. And for all of us who believe in God Almighty, what we know is that it's only God who selects leaders. Only God. No human being can select a leader. It's only God. Because the good book will tell us that unless the Lord builds the house, they will labor in vain. We fully share that saying and that leading. And so, for me, this is why this morning, as I prepared to go out, I thought it was very, very important to meet with you, to tell you that I am in this race and I need your prayers. I need your blessings so that I believe that I can do something for Ghana. I believe that I can do something for Ghana. I believe God uses everybody that he wants to use to change any society. The good book tells us that. And you know, in the Bible, even Cyrus was used by God, who was not even a believer. And so, I believe that someone asked me, can anything good come from Wale Wale? I think that something good can come from Wale Wale. And if God says that it should come from Wale Wale, it will come from Wale Wale. And so, I am very blessed. Ghana, frankly, we are a very blessed country. And sometimes I'm just in awe about how blessed this, our small country is. I mean, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, I had the privilege and the honor to visit His Holiness the Pope at the Vatican. And we had a conversation, and he's so knowledgeable about it, so much. We had a conversation about Ghana, and one of the things he was commending us, Ghana, for was the peace and tolerance that we have in our country. In fact, he seemed to know more about Ghana than I do. You know, he's that knowledgeable. But the peace and tolerance that we have in this country is really second to none in our sub-region. When you look around our region, it's a region in turmoil. But God has really put His hands on us, and we are not suffering the turmoil that our neighbors are suffering. It's very remarkable. But I think the heart of the peace that we are enjoying in Ghana is because of our religious tolerance. That is the heart of it. Sometimes we don't appreciate it, but it is the very, very heart of it. Different religions, we get on very well, and you may not even know that we have different religions. You go to Nigeria, it stares you in the face. You know, it's very sharp, and people don't tend to get along for these reasons. So I'm most grateful for this country, and I want to ask you to continue to pray for the peace of this country. As politicians, we will come and go, but Ghana will always be here. To always be here. And we need to protect this country and not sacrifice the peace and stability of this country on the altar of political ambitions or ambitions of particular parties. I thought I should also tell you a little bit about myself and what really drives my politics. As you know, I was not in politics before 2008. And I never thought I would ever get into politics. I really initially said I would never get into politics. But God has his own ways, and somehow within 24 hours in August of 2008, I got into politics. But as you know, I come from Wali. I don't come from a privileged background. My father was not a rich man. When I grew up, I used to do by day in farms. When I went, but thankfully I was reasonably good in school. So when I went to Canada, when I went to London first, I used to do taxi driving. I wasn't a driver mate then. But I used to be a taxi driver to help myself through school. When I went to Canada, I used to be a cleaner, cleaning dormitories of my students. That was my school job. Even though I was a teaching assistant of sorts, I was still cleaning the dormitories for the students. And that is to tell you that I therefore appreciate people's challenges. And I appreciate the poor. And that is really something that really drives me to try to help people who are less privileged than myself. Because I've been through experiences, periods of difficulties, when I had to do all sorts of menial jobs just to continue my education. Today, very interestingly, I am one of the patrons, if not the main patron, of the lepers aid in Ghana. That is one of my biggest joys when I am with the lepers. It gives me my biggest joy. If the people don't understand it, when I became vice president and they gave me this official bungalow, said I should go and live here. I said, okay, how do we memorialize this occasion? He said, okay, let's have a house opening party. So I had a house opening party with the lepers. It was a party for the lepers. And you should have seen all the asaboni that the lepers were doing that day. We had a very good time. But that brings me joy. Very recently also I've taken off over the patronship of a yet to be completed Mother Teresa soup kitchen that I'm working on with Father Campbell to build a soup kitchen. We had done some work. I was working with him to some extent on the Christ the King one since he retired. We're building. But just to say that for me, it's been, how do you help the poor? How do you help the vulnerable, the people who don't have it? That is what has really driven a lot of my politics. And if you see a lot of the things that I do, It is about inclusion, bringing people who are excluded from the society. When people say you are doing digitalization, they don't understand that digitalization is about helping the poor, helping the excluded. It looks fancy, but the poor don't normally have ID cards. They don't have passports. They cannot even go and apply for this. They don't have bank accounts. So how can we help them? Do a national ID. Make sure everybody has a national ID. Do an address system, a digital address system. No matter which neighborhood you live, you will have a digital address. So you are included in society. People have difficulty in getting passports. Digitalize the process. They can sit at home and apply. They don't have to go and pay a bribe. They can do the same for driver's licenses, clearing goods at the port, and so on. Bring in drones. The drones were not brought in for the rich people. That's why you don't see the drones in the capital towns. The drones are brought in for the people in the remote areas of Ghana where you cannot get healthcare, cannot get medicines, cannot get blood when you are. So this is why we brought the drones, because I painfully watched my father die because we couldn't get blood on time. Couldn't get blood in Tamale Hospital. I was there. We kept that night looking for blood. If the drones were there at that time, my father would have lived. But by the time it was morning and the man came to open the blood bank, my father was gone. I said no. Once I heard of this technology, I went to San Francisco and I convinced them to come to Ghana. Let's not let other mothers die of childbirth and so. So far, we've really, Ghana today is the whole world. We are the leading country in terms of medical drone delivery. The whole world. But we are saving lives every day. We are saving lives every day because we have 6 drone centers and each is doing about 100 flights a day. That means you are saving lives every day, and especially in the most remote areas. In the Afram Plains in the eastern region, for example, last year or so, there were floods and the children couldn't get the exam papers to write the exams. How do we get the papers there? We remember we have drones. We put the exam papers in the drones and they dropped them there. And that is what we are trying to do. It is the same idea that said to me, let's bring in a policy for the students who don't have guarantors. They are not able to access student loans because they don't have guarantors. Let's use the Ghana card as the guarantor for student loans. We did it. It's the same idea that made me say, let's have one constituency, one ambulance, so that every constituency will get some. Let's have agenda 111, so that every district will have a hospital. The same thing that made me say, let's get rid of ghost names from our payroll. So today, one thing about the Ghana card which has really helped us is that it really eliminates ghost names, because the Ghana card is about your fingerprints, but ghosts don't have fingerprints. So once we say everybody must be, confirmed with their fingerprints, the ghosts run away. And immediately today we don't have ghost workers on controller and accountant general payroll anymore. They've disappeared. Today we don't have ghost workers on the Senate pension roll. They've also disappeared. National service has also disappeared. We are saving over 400 million Ghana cedis every year just because of the elimination of ghost names. Just that. So I am very, very focused on fighting corruption. Paperless ports, we've reduced corruption at the ports, and so on. And I want to even go further by the grace of God when I become President, by your support. We need to tackle corruption in the public service, but I believe in systems that bring transparency. And corrupt people don't like transparency, but I want transparency. And the systems that will bring transparency will help us a whole lot. My family background is very interesting. My father was a Muslim, married my mother. At the time she married my mother, who attended Wesley Girls School, was a Christian. So that is how my father ended up having 17 children. Yes, football team plus reserves. But what is very interesting about our family is that of the 17, 9 of us are Christian and 8 of us are Muslim. And we live very, the religious tolerance started from home, because we discuss, and so there's very, there's a lot of harmony. And this is why you can see me feeling very comfortable in church. Because when I was a young man, I was a member of the Methodist Boys Brigade. And today, I'm a vice president, but I'm a patron of the Methodist Boys Brigade, Ghana. I'm a patron. And so I believe in unity, tolerance, and harmony, things that can help move this country forward. I don't believe in things that divide us. I believe in things that unite us. And this is why one of the things I want to do as president, I believe, is to introduce a golden age, that of a relationship between church and faith-based organizations and government. Why do I say so? I believe that that is the reality. If you look at the church, for example, the church has done so much for the country. Schools, hospitals, taking care of people. It's just phenomenal what the church has done. So if you were looking for development partners in our country, they are not the foreigners. The development partners, our number one is the church and their faith-based organizations. How many schools do our development partners build for us? How many hospitals do they build? But therefore, how can we leverage this and give incentives to the church and to the faith-based organizations for them to do more for us? And this is where I want us to see and enhance incentives for our churches and faith-based organizations. And therefore, I want to see a closer relationship. Let us open and see how best some of the churches can help us in the management of our schools, for example. Let us discuss some of these major issues that are pertinent to all of us. I also want to bring in new ideas that can help us. For example, I think that for us to go forward, we have to reduce the cost of living in this country. It's very, very high. And how do you reduce it? Agric is one area. We need to commercialize agric, and bring in technology, irrigation, commercial farming. The combination of those three can increase agricultural productivity. Public transport, we need to push to go into electric vehicles for public transport, the buses. That means that anytime petrol prices increase, we then don't have to increase transport fares. Today, we are essentially hostage to increases in petrol prices and spare parts prices. But I believe that Ghana can easily move into the era of electric vehicles as other countries are moving, and we can do that. Similarly, in terms of electricity tariffs, they are very high because it's all dependent on fuel and so on. I believe that we need to move more to solar power generation. bring in 2,000 megawatts of solar power at the very least to start with within the first 4 years. That's about half our consumption in Ghana. That will significantly reduce the cost of power, very significantly, as with the electric vehicles would also reduce the cost of transport by about 40%. Then I believe that as a government, we need to do less and encourage the private sector to do more, so that government will borrow less and spend less, and the private sector will be involved in road construction, hospitals and so on. Let's let the private sector take some of the burden of the government. I also want to see a country where our tax system, I want to bring a new tax system to Ghana. I believe that our current tax system is too complicated and subject to abuse. And I believe that if we bring in a very simplified tax system, we can really get more revenue. And this is why I believe in the flat tax system. The flat tax system is a system where everybody can know what their tax is. If it's 10%, it's 10%. That means if you earn 1,000, you owe 100. Everybody can calculate it. Today, we only rely on GRA to tell us how much we owe, and we don't really know exactly what it is. So we want to bring in a very, very simplified tax system, a flat tax system as they have in Estonia. I went to Estonia to study it, and I'm very convinced that it will help Ghana and will go very, very far. But to bring in this new tax system, we've got to all start afresh. And that means I want to bring in an amnesty, a tax amnesty in 2025, so that we all start afresh on the same clean slate. When I was in the Vatican, Cardinal Taxin was taking me around and showing me different places in the Basilica and so on. And then mentioned to me that 2025 is Jubilee year. They were preparing for 2025. They said Jubilee year is the year of forgiveness and all of that. I said, 2025 is also when I want to forgive tax debt. And I'm going to also bring in a tax amnesty. And we had a good laugh about it. I believe we can reinforce digitalization. We haven't really gone as far as we want to. One of the areas that we need to really solve is the land digitalization. Where we're going to digitalize the whole process, you should be able to sit down at home and know who really owns this land on your mobile phone without really going to get land guards. Today they are working with land guards and people are being killed over ownership. But once we digitalize the whole process, the courts will know in 1 minute who really owns this land, because everything will be digitalized, and we'll use blockchain technology. Blockchain technology sounds fancy, but it's simple. It means once you use it, nobody can change that record. Nobody can change the record. That record is immutably solid. So once you apply blockchain technology to this thing, all the kululu that you tend to see at the Lands Commission, that the files are missing, records are changed, all of that will be his history. And that can allow the country to develop. Because you cannot develop if your land ownership is in question. Investors will not come. You don't have a mortgage market. And so we're going to do a whole new thing. I also believe that I want to introduce a new paradigm in the management of our natural resources. I believe that we haven't gotten the best and the maximum benefit from our gold and other resources. And why should that be the case? It is the case because we don't really have ownership of these resources. So they keep getting taken away. So I believe that we need a new paradigm. if you look at our gold reserves, for example, you have 7 belts of gold in Ghana, from Axim, Wedeba, all the way to Laura, Nangodi, you know, all is gold. And Geological Survey Department data shows that about 48,000 square kilometers, which is about 50% of our reserves, has not yet been explored. So I'm saying, let us empower the Geological Survey Department and our universities like UMAT and so on to get into exploration. Give them the resources every year to explore and then find out exactly where we have. But once they find out where we have this gold, then that gold should only be given to Ghanaians. The concessions, we should have 100% ownership of these concessions, and then empower the miners. And that's why I want us to establish a minerals development bank, formalize the small scale sector so that they have to operate according to their licenses, because they are so illegal that they are not regularized. They do so much damage in the area of the Galamsey. But we're going to formalize the system. They cannot, once you have a license, which you need your Ghana card to get, and we will have community mining schemes and direct you where to go, tailing dams, so that you don't have to go into the rivers to do mining and all of that. Once we formalize that, and then common processor facilities and so on, and equipment pools, all of that, we get the small scale mining to be very productive. We can enable them make a lot of money, sell all that gold to the Bank of Ghana. Bank of Ghana's reserves will increase, stabilize our currency. So I want us to move from just a country that is satisfied with having a royalty to one that actually owns the whole thing 100%, and therefore we will make more money. Because once the gold is there, once the mineral is there, we can also raise the funding to exploit it. And that is the new thinking I wanted us to bring to be able to help the country. So these are some ideas that I thought I should share with you about what I'm coming to Ghana to do. I'm coming to Ghana to help the poor, to help the dispossessed, to help us fight corruption. And I believe that with your prayers, if you pray, God will hear you more than me. So I'm asking you for your prayers and your blessings and support. Thank you very much for your attention.
Hello? Hello?
Hi.
Oh, please, you can do better. You can do better. You can do better. You can do better. Thank you so very much, His Excellency. At this juncture, we're going to take a couple of questions. Please.